All right, everybody sit down. All right, kings and queens, school is back in session. And as you all know, I have some major complaints with the current education system. So today, I'm gonna show you all about my top 5 problems with the current sex education system. That's right, we're gonna talk about sex. Starting with point number 1, is that somebody has got to teach it. I don't know about you, but when I was going to school, most of the time, the only kind of education that we got was in our health class that was typically taught by our coaches. So y'all gonna listen to what I'm gonna tell you, especially as your official sex coach. Now, nobody wants to teach sex ed. The schools want the parents to do it. The parents want the schools to do it. Nobody wants to do it, so they all send their kids to church to get educated. Now, I think that's a huge problem, because education in church mostly relies on abstinence-only education, and we'll get to that one in a minute. Now, because nobody wants to talk about it, nobody wants to teach about it, nobody wants to learn about it, there's only one place that people are going to get educated about sex. And that's the gosh dang internet. Over 60% of college-age kids are getting their education about sex from pornography. Now, I am not typically opposed to pornography, but I do not think that it's the only place that you should be getting your education from. Because here's the thing, it's all theatrics. It's all about a presentation. You don't actually learn when you're viewing it. It's like going to school, watching a movie about space and expecting that's how astrophysics works. That ain't how it works. Now, luckily, because none of y'all want to talk about it, want to learn about it, want to teach about it, ironically, Pornhub has started its own sex education forum, their own platform, because nobody else wants to. You can go to the link down below and be able to find some fantastic educational videos from none other than Pornhub, the #1 porn site. If any of y'all find this objectionable, I recommend that you start stepping up and start talking about it, and learning about it, and teaching about it, because otherwise, y'all's kids are going to be going to Pornhub to do it. Number 2, you got to teach it like any other subject in schools. You wouldn't go to any other class and have the algebra teacher be teaching incorrect algebra. You wouldn't be going to any other class and having the chemistry teacher be teaching you incorrect chemistry. But amazingly, sex education is not standardized in a lot of the US. Out of the 50 states, only 22 require a sex education program, and of those 22, only 13 require that the information be medically accurate. Now that is insane! In addition to creating a curriculum that everybody knows, that everybody can get down with, we also need to be starting education younger. Now, I'm not talking about like penis and vagina intercourse when they're 6 years old. No, I'm talking about beginning with some very simple body identification. If you look at the Dutch model for education, they require a standardized system that starting at age like 4, 5, 6 years old begins talking about, okay, what's your body like? How is a boy's body different from a girl's body? Now, when you start getting older, you start getting about 7, 8 years old, you start learning about, okay, what does it mean when you like somebody? And then around 11, 13, 14, you start talking about what's like going through puberty, you start talking about, changes going on in your body, you start talking about relationships, and you start talking about sex. But not only just sex, but also the responsibility that comes with it. Because there is responsibility that comes with it. It's just like how we do with math. You start with basic addition and subtraction, then slowly work your way up to complex algebra by the time you're leaving high school. But because we don't want to talk about it here, ain't nobody's learning that responsibility. That creates some problems. Number 3, we got to get rid of abstinence-only education. It's doing more harm than good. The standard thing here in the United States is to say, not me, not now. To say, if you have sex, you will get pregnant and die. This creates more problems than it helps solve. If you look at the European model for sex education, not even just the Dutch model, but Europeans in general, they have sex education that's more comprehensive, that talks about safety, and they say, instead of not me, not now, they say safe sex or no sex. They're talking about protecting themselves, protecting their futures by talking about it openly. And the statistics do not lie. Comprehensive education programs typically have students engaging in sex at an average of 2 years later than abstinence-only programs, and they have 8 times fewer teenage pregnancies than abstinence-only education programs. Abstinence-only does not work. It has never worked. Teenagers are still going to do what they are going to do, but the only thing is that when you're not giving them proper education, they don't know how to defend themselves. Which brings me to point number 4. We got to start talking about contraception more properly. I don't know about you, but when I was going to school, the only education that I ever got about contraception was to talk about how ineffective they are. They said, oh, condoms will break, or oh, the pill may not work all the time, or oh, this, or oh, that. So just don't have sex. Just don't do it. And that don't work. That'd be the same thing as signing up for football and then saying, oh yeah, sure, pads and helmets, they help prevent injuries, but they don't work 100% of the time. So you know what? Just go on out there. Forget about protection. Just let them go. Just let them loose. It don't work that way. You got to learn to defend yourself, to protect yourself, protect your partner, protect your teammate. That's how you do things better. Talk about contraception. Talk about safety guards. Talk about condoms, in condoms, on condoms, dental dams, the pill, the patch, IUDs, the freaking diaphragm, all of it. You gotta teach it all because it all helps. Number 5. This one burns me up. The stick of gum metaphor. I don't know if any of you guys remember Elizabeth Smart. Back in 2002, she was abducted from her home. Little 14-year-old girl, and was sexually abused for a year before being found. But when she was growing up, she was told that if she had sex before she was married, it'd be like she was a chewed up stick of gum, and who would ever want her after that? The amount of trauma that induces on a young person growing up, even without the sexual abuse itself, is so hard. Putting aside Elizabeth Smart, just think about any other person that's out there. If they hear their entire lives through abstinence-only education that throughout their entire dating life, they're supposed to get these good feelings but then press them back down, that they need to hold it all in, what do you think is going to happen whenever they're married and they finally are expected to flip a switch and expected to just have sex with no problems at all? It don't work that way. The level of disassociation that occurs between the mind and the body at that point is incredibly damaging to any sort of healthy relationships or or healthy marriages going forward. And number 6 is we got to teach what healthy relationships look like to begin with. When I was growing up in school, the thing that I remember the most was talking about how sex just complicates a relationship. Don't worry about having sex. Don't have sex because it just complicates things. And that may be true. It can complicate things if you're already in an unhealthy relationship and then try to integrate sex into it. But if you're in a healthy relationship, it can do wonderful things to the relationship. It is a way to both deepen and express the intimacy and the connectedness that you feel with each other. Now, I'm not saying that just because you like Susie from, Susie Q across the hall means y'all should start bumping uglies. Not what I'm saying. You need to be prepared for the responsibility, for the mature, emotional type of responses that are going to happen whenever you do start having sex. But it's also incredibly important that they teach you what a healthy relationship looks like, so that way, whenever you do begin to decide that, hey, I am ready for this, you can integrate it into a currently healthy, fertile foundation. And that's how wonderful things bloom. So start talking a little more about what healthy relationships look like rather than just talking about how unhealthy sex is for the relationship. So that's it, y'all. Those are my top 6 problems with sex education and things that need to change going forward into this new school year, into this new decade. We're in 2018 now. Come on, y'all. We can do this. If you like this video, go ahead, drop a comment down below. Let me know what your sex education was like growing up, what you would like to see changed. Also, don't forget to hit like on this video and share it with somebody who you think could find some value in this. You know what I'm saying. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe so you can see more fun, sexy content like this from me, your sex coach, Kincaid McMinn. Until next time, y'all, love like royalty.